listening to the Betmaker Show. This is the NFL Week 10 preview for November 7th, 2019. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
All right, we got to go to the other side of the counter. We heard from our pal Jack, our world-renowned odds maker, to get those numbers, the opening numbers. Now we take it to the other side of the counter. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas, as is our pal Bruce Marshall from the legendary publication, The Gold Sheet. Hello, Bruce. This football season's racing by, my friend.
Yeah, we're past the half-mile pole already, so we're moving pretty quick. And Thanksgiving's coming up in a couple weeks, and then the college season's over. Where did it go?
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast. Thursday night game, Chargers, Oakland. Chargers 1.5. Let's call the consensus on the road. Total on the game, 48.5, 49. And I think it's going to come down. The one thing I would say, Bruce, both offenses trending the right way. The Raiders are really incorporating the rookie running back Jacobs. Gordon after the holdout. Now I think the Chargers have a running game, and they're coming off a great effort against the Packers. That being said, saying the offenses are trending the right way, what happens? It's a divisional game. They know each other. You're playing on grass with dirt in the middle of the field. This is going to be a backyard alley fight. I like this game to go under the total.
Yeah, I do too. They went considerably under this in both meetings last year. The Chargers, since that opening overtime game with Indy, have been under 7 of 8, and the only game that went over was that one by a half point at Tennessee. So they've been trending under. They got the running game reignited, like you said last week. Gordon finally started to run some last week. Eckler's been effective all year, but it was really Gordon who, when he came back from the holdout, was just not effective. And they changed offensive coordinators before last week, and Steichen came in place of Wisenhunt and seemed to sequence the playbook a lot better. They played some real ball control against Green Bay. They might be able to do that tonight. Oakland's defense still looks a little bit vulnerable to me. You're right. Oakland has been scoring and going over with Jacobs doing some business, but the Chargers have played well up here. They've covered 4 straight at the Coliseum, 13 of the last 17. This is their last visit, so special effort forthcoming from the Chargers tonight, I think. 24-20 Bolts, and we, like you, think this one is probably going to go under as well.
Hey, Bruce, Kansas City, as we get to Sunday, Kansas City, Tennessee, it's a number that's on the rise. That's now KC up to a 6-point favorite, 5.5 in a lot of places. The total on the game, the total's not going up, which is surprising me a little bit at 48 because the word is out. Patrick Mahomes, a full participant in practice. I think you could get points even if it's more, but it doesn't look like it's going to be more having to play on the road. If it's Mahomes, the one thing I'm noticing with Tennessee, and it is a funny thing, it's a human nature thing, Bruce. Tennessee, when Mariota was a quarterback and these guys were hard-pressed to get across midfield, Tennessee's defense played like men possessed because if they didn't show up, Tennessee had no shot. Since they've gone to Tannehill, Tennessee's actually producing points, but their defense has regressed.
Yeah, the offense has picked up the tempo some, and Tannehill is able to throw downfield, which Mariota really wasn't able to do consistently, and that seems to have changed some things. So they've gotten involved in a couple, just the way the games have played out the last few weeks. And this one figures to play out faster. This is priced now as if Mahomes is going to play. I still think they could. I like Kansas City, even if Moore is in there. Moore is very serviceable and beat Minnesota last week, confounding the experts. So they can win with him, but obviously they have a much sharper edge with Mahomes. Tennessee, listen, they look like they were using Vanderbilt's playbook last week. They only ran Derrick Henry twice in the first half. I mean, it was totally confused. And Andy gets his payback here, delayed payback after the 2017 wild card loss. 30-17 Chiefs, Gold Sheet key release Sunday.
Buffalo and Cleveland, and they're betting the Browns again. It's up to 3. The total on the game is 40. You have to be Dr. Phil to step up to the plate on this game. Cleveland's either 10 seconds away from running for the bus, or it's a mad team, circles the wagons, and this is the week they take it out on somebody. I will say this. It's a very simple formula for Cleveland. If they run the ball with Nick Chubb and you get Hunt involved, who's now on the team, and run the ball at Buffalo, that's the recipe for success. If Mayfield wants to go start slinging it around against this secondary, he's going to get himself in trouble. And for Buffalo, the one thing, their play calling, they've been winning against bad teams, and the play calling's been horrific. This is the week, Bruce. They have tried and tried and tried to a fault to continue to try to get Frank Gore going. Just come to grips with the fact, use the kid. If they use Devin Singletary a lot in this game, Buffalo's offense will produce points.
Yeah, it should. And I think Cleveland is too risky a proposition now. From what we're hearing, the clubhouse is starting to fracture. There's no leadership here. You've got, just a lot of Warriors and no Chiefs. Freddie Kitchens is not cutting it. And it was a horrific move. At least it's looking like that. And we warned about this at the start of the season, Brian, not only to promote him to head coach, which he'd never been before, but to allow him to continue with the play caller duties was absurd. And you needed there's so many big personalities in this clubhouse. You really needed like an old school guy. I thought at the start, this is a guy like Bruce Arians would have been much better to keep this team in line. They're out of control. That was a poor effort at Denver last week. And Buffalo, I think there is some reluctance in the marketplace on Buffalo, born from the Eagles game a couple of weeks ago, born from the fact the schedule. Now, you can only play who's in front of you here. But in Buffalo's case, I mean, they've played 5 teams with a combined 5-37 record: Jets, Giants, Bengals, Dolphins, Redskins. I mean, they've played all the worst teams in the league thus far, but they've beaten them all, but they've done what they should have. And I think they'll win this game too. They're the antithesis of the Browns. Less drama, just functional, fully functional, and with a coach who's got things under control. McDermott, 22-17 Bills. We think they do it on Sunday.
I hope you're right. Hey, I will tell you this. Just a one quick footnote. This is a tough one. If the Bills get a win here, look out, Bruce. They could be 9-2. They get Denver at home, then they're at Miami, and then the schedule gets brutal for them at the end. But this is where they have to make their hay. It hasn't been pretty, but they've been able to do it. All right, let's go to Arizona and Tampa. Tampa's a 4.5-point favorite. Total on the game is 52 because I don't know what you do with Tampa Bay other than play over in their games because Winston can score. They've got weapons. They go up and down the field, and Winston makes a lot of bonehead plays that produces points for the other team too.
Yeah, and you wonder how they're going to react being at home for the first time in 7 weeks. And last chance really to knock the NFL. They did this to the Raiders. They did this to Tampa Bay. I mean, you've got guys working on a schedule. There's no reason to put a team out on the road for this long, especially when one of the trips was over to London. So NFL schedule makers, shame on you once again. Now, Tampa Bay did play better since it got back from London, although they didn't get rewarded with wins. Winston, yeah, he makes some mistakes, but he was not as bad as he was in the London game a few weeks ago. These last two, they could have beaten Tennessee and Seattle, better than 300 yards passing in both of those. But you're right. I mean, up and down the field, Arizona's defense not great. The offense looks like it's picking up some things more with Kyler Murray as the season progresses. And Cliff Kingsbury has proven he can handle some of these mediocre teams this year. So we think plus the points, maybe Arizona, and certainly over as well. We had it 29-28 bucks, but that's also over this total on Sunday. All
right, I'm sensing a trend here. But in this one specifically, Atlanta's at New Orleans. New Orleans a 13-point favorite, total 51.5, off a bye both teams. Basically, the Falcons have one way to go here. That is drive off a cliff or say, hey, forget everything. It's a new start. It's our second season. Show up. Historically, Bruce, these two teams take it down to who has the ball last, and it's a track meet indoors. Matt Ryan back from the ankle injury, full participant. It looks like a track meet to me, and Kamara might be back too.
Yeah, it could be. And, the Falcon defense has been a mess this year. And Dan Quinn survived the bye week. So it's like you said, maybe Arthur Blank is giving this a chance after the bye to somewhat come together. Or he's just mistaking the Falcons for an NHL team. And, it's Thanksgiving week is usually when underperforming coaches get the boot in the NHL. And maybe Blank thinks he wants to wait till Thanksgiving week. I don't know. No indication yet, though, that Atlanta can pull this together. Actually, with Schaub in there, Schaub put up better numbers against Seattle, although a lot of it was belated late.
Yardage, but not points.
Yardage, yeah. Yardage than Ryan, but Ryan hasn't been doing much either. In fact, he's got 8 picks and 7 starts. He's having a bumpy ride, but it's the defense there that isn't any good, and that
Horrible.
Yeah, and this is what's going to sink Quinn because he took over the defense after last year, and that does not bode well for him. 37-17 Saints, we think. Just keep going against Atlanta, and that would be the better way to go, we think.
All right. We'd say this if it was a college game, but they're pros. Baltimore, it's come down a little bit. Baltimore's a 10-point favorite at Cincinnati. Total on the game is 44. Off the thumping of the Patriots, are the Ravens reading their press clippings and fat and happy? That would be the only angle that would be in play here.
Yes, and that's possible. And they did have some trouble with the Bengals the first time. That was with Andy Dalton, though. They have switched to Ryan Finley, the NC State rookie. You know, the Bengals right now, if the season stopped, they'd be on the clock for the first pick. So I think they want to see what they've got with Finley before drafting a Herbert or a Tagovailoa or whoever's going to be a quarterback available at the top of the draft. Andy Dalton's run in Cincinnati looks like it's over. So if you think Finley is up to it this week and want to play psychology, maybe with Cincinnati. AJ Green was thinking he might come back this week, re-aggravated his ankle. He may not be there. They do not have a legitimate infantry diversion. So you're just playing psychology here on the Baltimore side, and it's possible, but that's a lot to ask for Cincinnati, I think, given the dynamics this week. 27-13 Baltimore. Cincy off the bye with a new quarterback. I'm not sure it's going to make much difference for the Bengals.
For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. All right, Bruce, I could be wrong. I could be wrong with the best of them. But I'm just looking at this number, and that's Detroit at Chicago. Chicago is 2.5. The total on the game is 41.5. In my heart of hearts, I truly believe the wrong team is favored here. Detroit is just a question of self-inflicted wounds at the ends of games, but against quality opponents. And Chicago's offense is just so ordinary. I know Ryan on the road historically against winning teams. Well, the Bears aren't a winning team. I don't know. I just think the wrong team's favored.
Yeah, we had the Lions winning this game too. The only concern is just the Lions get involved every week. It comes down right to the end. You get the feeling if they played Northwestern this week, it'd be down to the last 5 minutes. And they can't get out of their way. So, I mean, they should have a better record than they have, but they don't. The Bears, though, are who they are, and that is not very good. This offense just is struggling. Trubisky, a little bit of damage last week after that thing was out. Got over the horizon with the Eagles. I mean, the first half numbers for the Bears offense were pathetic last week. But Trubisky doesn't have it, and this team has regressed big time from last year. It's because of that offense, and we will take Detroit in this one like you like it as well. 23-17 Lions, they finally pull out one of these things. They're better than their record. The Bears are not better than their record, and that's why we'll stick to Detroit.
All right, Bruce, the absolute worst thing that happened to Miami was that Indy lost the game last week, and Vinatieri with the Ray Finkel, the laces out. That was ridiculous. But Vinatieri gets scalded, but I mean, literally, the holder just has the laces staring right at him, and the guy's already under pressure. But Indy's a 10.5 point favorite. Total's 44. I don't care if it's Brissett. I don't care if it's Hoyer. Miami gets a win. The air's out of the balloon. They're not taking, the bagel is off the board. I think Miami's walking into a buzzsaw here.
Maybe, although, I'll tell you, since Fitzpatrick came in, I mean, they've been in every game. Even the couple before the bye week, they got ahead of the Chargers. Now, that was still with Rosen. Dallas game, they could have been ahead at halftime there. The Dolphins are still being priced like those first two games of the season. I know they're not any good.
No, they're better. There's no doubt they're better. They're situationally, they're not good, but situationally, I mean, had Indy made the field goal at Pittsburgh, that's the thing to me. Had Indy won the game last week, but now you're sitting there going, hey, listen, I mean, you're in a dogfight in that division. I mean, they're not taking anybody lightly. Every game's critical to Indy.
Yeah, and every game is also close. Indy plays. They have not had an easy game yet. I mean, they should have lost that game to Denver a couple weeks ago, which is no better than Miami, not much better. And they were hanging in there with Pittsburgh. I don't think Hoyer's that bad. I mean, he's certainly serviceable and not too much worse than Brissett. Yeah, the psychology's there, but or maybe Miami's just playing better. And they're. I mean, this is a pretty long sample of them being competitive. So I still think they're pricing this early season some, and it's too much. I think 26-19 Indy. We're going to ride the beard one more week.
There you go, the beard. Oh, please, fear the beard. The Rams, 3.5 at Pittsburgh, totals 44. There are two things going on here. First half of the season, Rams underachieve. They're coming off a bye. Is it a reboot or is this who they are? But I will tell you this, and I'm very curious. You know, all the heat that Tomlin seems to be under for whatever reason in Pittsburgh these past few years, you got to give this guy full marks. This team is playing hard.
They are, and I still think they could make the playoffs here. I don't know if they can overtake the Ravens, but no. They're at 4-4, and you know there's some possible wins out here. They got the Bengals coming up, and the Jets and the Cardinals and the Browns twice. The Browns are struggling. I think they could make the playoffs as a wild card. Mason Rudolph has not been that bad. They won a game with the third stringer Hodges a few weeks ago against the Chargers. The only game they haven't covered since Big Ben went down was that game against Miami, which they came 1 point away from covering. They've picked up, I mean, Devin Bush has been a revelation for this defense. Adding Minkah Fitzpatrick from Miami has been great. And that 96-yard pick six last week, there you go. You got playmakers on defense. That's why you get them, to make plays like that. They've already forced 19 takeaways this season. That's 4 more than all of last season. This team is not that bad, and I think the Rams, this is the Hornets' nest. I think they're walking into this off of the bye week. They weren't that sharp against Cincinnati before the bye in London. I think the Steelers get them here, 24-19.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I mean, you said it, and that's what we do here. That's what drives me nuts during football games is the coaches can't look 30 seconds into the future. We're looking weeks into the future. And you're on to something, Bruce. And they say, let's win this game. And then they've got at Cleveland, at Cincy, host Cleveland, at Arizona. And they're sitting there, they can go on a dead run. And the reality is they could be targeting the December 15th game hosting Buffalo, saying, that's the team we've got to target. We have an opportunity and control our own destiny. And believe me, one game at a time is what they say. But they look at the schedule. There's an opportunity for them to soldier on. Minnesota's at Dallas. Here we go. Dallas, a 3-point favorite. Total in the game's 47.5. You beat who's in front of you. Survive, advance, get out of Dodge. Boy, I'll tell you, Bruce, you talked about the Giants before the season. They're not going to be that bad. They just gave that game away to Dallas. It looks like Dallas walked in there and won that game easily. They get a turnover right out of the gate, have to settle for 3. They do stupid stuff at halftime. They outplayed him for the first half and went to the locker room down a point. I don't know, man. Dallas, I just don't know what to do with Dallas.
Well, you're right. I mean, the Giants, that was a 5-point game midway in the fourth quarter. I mean, they had a shot to win, and then it just went kaput at the end, and that was quite a play, the last play of the game for the totals watchers for sure. Dallas is back in Arlington this week, though, and that seems to mean something to them. They generally fire on all cylinders there. They didn't that one game against Green Bay, but usually they do. And once again, Kirk Cousins, I know the Vikings were the talk of the league going into that game last week, and then they fall short again. And Cousins, when under duress, and what the things Minnesota was doing, moving the pocket around, bootlegs, things like that, to give Cousins an extra tick. I mean, last week Kansas City kind of figured some things out, and they got pressure on him, and he didn't complete a pass under duress last week. Minnesota is still under 500 on the road since last year. And Dallas 6-1-1 versus the number its last 8. And oh, by the way, I mean, they're going to be involved in this is an Affirm versus Alibadar thing in the NFC East with the Eagles. It's going to be just going with them all the way till that game December 22. So there's pressure on Dallas. I think they step up here. 31-23 Cowboys, maybe over as well Sunday night.
All right, we wrap it up. Monday Night Football, terrific get-out game for the weekend. Seattle's at San Francisco. San Fran, 6-point favorite. Total on the game is 46.5. Bruce, I will just say this personally. This is my best bet of the week. I think Seattle in this spot, taking nothing away from San Francisco, unbeaten, the only unbeaten remaining. Pressure mounts. The more and more you're unbeaten, the deeper in the season you get. But the hidden nugget here is Seattle has 2 losses, but they play San Fran twice and control their own destiny. Seattle is playing this game like a playoff game because if they lose, the division is over. And Russell Wilson, 8-0 against the spread his last 8 games as an underdog. I like Seattle in this game a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And, they're on the road. They've won every road game this year too. Road and underdog is generally the way to look in Seattle games. They've beaten the Niners 10 straight until the game at December at Levi's last December. Some lesser San Francisco teams in there. But I agree with you. I mean, this is a very live underdog here. Wilson is putting up MVP numbers, 5 more touchdown passes last week. 49ers were not all that sharp down in Arizona in the off and the defense. A few leaks for the first time we saw this season. They're going to get tested here by Wilson, and I think this is a definite play on the Seahawks. And you're right. I mean, they still got these guys twice, and it's all to play for the Seahawks to get the NFC West. 28-24 Seattle. We're going to call the outright win for the Seahawks, but plus 6.5. Definitely, we like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. And listen, and that's no knock on San Francisco. Listen, they've been spectacular. It's a situational thing. That's all. But I mean, San Fran's been terrific.
Yep. Yeah, they have. And, but yeah, at some point I mean, you got pretty good odds that this would be the last team that was the unbeaten. And those remaining 72 Dolphins will be toasting champagne, their little cruise around Biscayne Bay on Tuesday, I think, next week.
Yeah, Mercury Morris and the gang clinking the bottle, no doubt. All right, it's always fun talking with Bruce Marshall from the legendary publication, The Gold Sheet. I'm Brian Blessing. There you have it. The other side of the counter looking at the NFL this week.
Let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At Betmaker.com and The Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling. An approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.